Welcome to Real Reboot. I'm your host, Sage Goodwin, and today I'm joined by Brock Predovich from Trustio. How are you doing?
Good. How are you? It's nice
Doing
to be here.
Fantastic. Glad to have you on the show. Could you give a little bit of background for what you're doing now and a little bit overview of Trustio before we get into some of the nitty-gritty details?
Sure. So Trustio is basically an invoicing, payment, and project management platform for service providers and their clients. It works just like any other invoicing platform that's out there where, once you've completed the work, you can send out an invoice and get paid on that. Yeah. But what's different about Trustio is you can also use it to secure funding for a project up front, so that you send an invoice to the client, they fund the project, that money gets held into an account, and then that money, those funds get released as tasks within that project are completed. So it's a way of the service provider to kind of guarantee they're going to get paid, and they're going to get paid on time, and for the client to know their money is safe in that process.
What inspired that for you to kind of go in that direction?
Yeah, so all my entrepreneurial endeavors have been probably sourced from moments of pain, I would say. And so
that's what I love about entrepreneurship. It's like,
yeah,
we're this weird group of people that see a lacking or a need, and we're like, we can do that.
Oh, absolutely.
And then we realize halfway through, it's like, oh man, a little bit over my head, but I'm still going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. We're stupid enough to believe things are possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, how it started was my last startup. In 2018, I went through a period where we didn't have any money, so I had to self-fund it, and so I self-funded it by building garden sheds and greenhouses. I just started up a side hustle of doing that. I think I might have put some ad on Facebook or maybe Facebook Marketplace just saying I could do this, and I got some clients out of it, and during that process, one of my clients stiffed me, so I didn't get paid on the job. And so I just remember at that time writing a note in my phone of some kind of like escrow-like service that would be sitting between the contractor and the client. And so that's kind of where we originally started out with it, with that in our mindset of like, this is a product for the home improvement industry to protect contractors. But what we realized after launching our pilot back in September of 2021, I believe, we launched the pilot, and then the contractors were using it, got really good feedback, but they were also talking to like family and friends and stuff like that, and we had photographers, videographers, DJs coming to us and saying like, hey, I'm having this problem in my business of getting paid on time. I don't want to be chasing after the client for months to get paid. It messes with my cash flow. Can I use this app in my service? And we're like, well, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to use it. So yeah, we started to add a couple more things to it to make it more conducive to, just any service provider can use this.
Mm-hmm. It's a big problem too. I think a lot of people, they may have like this super exciting idea for something, or they've been doing it for a while, and then the biggest thing that can either slow down or even kill your business is maybe you have expenses going out, you're waiting for income to come in, and you may have, I mean, during the pandemic, I had like $7,000 worth of invoices sent out.
Really?
And I was waiting for them to all get paid, but I also was working on some other projects that required some investment. So I had this amount of money that was waiting to go through. Mm-hmm. But I was having this amount of money go out, and it's like, oh boy,
it's
I may have to pick up a job at Walmart.
Yeah, that's what makes business risky. That's the problem I noticed as well. Like part of early in my career, I was also an online marketing consultant. And so I noticed that all the time of, I started a project for someone, finished it, was waiting to get paid. And then while at the same time I'm needing to like invest in the next project for someone, there's some upfront money or some cost there in terms of just man hours for, paying a paying a subcontractor to come in. So I noticed this is a huge, huge problem just even back then, as far as how badly this can affect your cash flow. And so if you don't have a way to secure that, then your cash flow is always, imbalanced. So yeah, it's like definitely an experience I think every, service provider's gone through, is waiting for money to come in while you're, trying to get the next project and stuff like that.
I think what's really cool too about your project is you're also actively using it while in development of it. So you become your own beta tester.
Yeah.
And you're using it out in the field. So you're also going through and somewhat self-funding this project as well.
Yeah.
And you're using it in this specific idea of things of, oh, hey, let's build some sheds, handyman, contractor type stuff. And then you've also shifted on the other side where you're trying out something different as you add these new features into the more marketing, or maybe someone's a photographer, videographer, they're doing subcontracting work. So you're also doing that side of things. And alongside other people, you have your own experiences and like, man, why don't I have this feature?
Yeah. So like that's been something that, again, like you go into it, with this project, it's again like something we needed to self-fund it. So how do we do that? I started a side hustle in this last year. Where
how many side hustles deep are you right now?
Well, it'd be about like 2 now. And I'll get to the second one here in a second. But yeah, I just started a side hustle again of just going out there and putting a Facebook marketplace advertisement saying I can build stuff, and had people in Denver, Colorado Springs, in all these different locations saying like, hey, can you build me this? And I was able to use our app to close them, and not even having met them. So they didn't they just I'm just some dude on Facebook that says he can build stuff. So I think that's pretty cool. So like actually using our product in this side hustle thing to fund the project has been really enlightening, just in terms of like it's given me different ways to pitch this to our audience, like different values that I didn't immediately see. And like one of them is just the fact that like I was able to start this side hustle with absolutely no risk.
Yeah.
Because I knew that money was there. I didn't have to like do any upfront investments to do that business. I can just like literally post something on Facebook and say I can do this, and people would pay for that upfront, not even having met me. So I closed them virtually. The other thing that we just recently started, again, as a side hustle to self-fund Trustio, is now we've got Trustio where it's more at a steady state. And so we have more time. And so working with basically me and my partner, Andre, we've started a side hustle of building apps for other people. And so we're using Trustio to do that. So now we've kind of got the experience using it as a contractor, as that home improvement person. And now we're going to, do something more in the digital space, digital delivery, that kind of thing. So it's giving us, different ways to understand our product more fully so we can sell it better. Yeah.
I think too, that's it's such a good way to look at your own investments of, if I struggle with my own service, why would anyone else want to come and use it? Exactly. So you have that side of things too. You know that this is a viable product because you're actively using it.
Exactly.
And if there are any weaknesses, you know who to talk to. You go upstairs, look in the mirror, and you're like, hey, we need this feature.
Yeah, exactly. And I've always just intrinsically trusted those businesses. Like maybe it's just a marketing thing, but they're saying, it's built for us, by us kind of thing. Like we're users of it too. So that they're passionate about what they've built. They're building it to work, to function well, and that's what they're building their business off of. Not only that product or that service they're offering, but also they're using it themselves to make their business better, their core business or their side business or whatever. Yeah.
Going from like this background of what you're doing now, let's rewind the clock a little bit. What got you started here? Let's go back to the twinkle in Brock's eyes around starting businesses.
So yeah, like what turned me into this crazy person as an entrepreneur?
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, what has led to this development? I think all my life I've been an entrepreneur of sorts. I would say, like even in grade school, I remember making necklaces. I'd get beads from some store, and then I'd make necklaces and I'd sell those at school. I remember in high school, I've always written poetry and gotten good at it over the years. But I remember in high school there was several friends that came to me and asked me to write poetry for their girlfriends, and because I didn't have any girlfriends during high school, I definitely had a lot of time on my hands to do so. Yeah. So yeah, I made money doing that. And then
that was like the opposite of what you're doing with Trustio, because with Trustio you've got experience with the thing you're dealing with, and that one was more of like, well, they probably like this.
Yeah, the girl would probably like this. We can say this. So yeah, and then like kind of my whole life, my dad was in the military. He spent 26 years in the Air Force. He retired a full bird colonel. So like his thing was always like, work hard in school, get good grades, get as good grades as you can,
Yeah.
in my sake, and then get into the Air Force, do your time, retire. They're gonna take care of you, and they do. Like the Air Force does, the military does take care of you in terms of your retirement and all that stuff. But so the path that I followed was largely influenced by my father. So I wanted to play football in college. That was one of my goals, and then I wanted to go to the Air Force Academy. So, and like I had my kind of my whole life planned out of go to the Air Force Academy, graduate, become a pilot, work in be in the Air Force for 20 years, retire. Yeah. Work for the airlines, be a pilot in the airlines for 10 years. And then after, when I was about 45 years old, then I'd finally retire, and then I'd start my first business.
Okay.
So I'd always had a plan of starting my first business, but it was just like
further along.
Do all the safe stuff first, and then do that. And then, I think it was like senior year. No, it was about junior year. A friend of mine handed me this book, friend, not in the academy, not in the military, handed me this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yes.
And I remember reading that, and I read probably halfway through it the first night. And I'm a really slow reader. That's one of my difficulties with school was a mild dyslexia. So I'm a really slow reader. But I read through like half the book in the first night, and my brain just exploded with like, oh my God, I don't need to wait. I can like do this now. There's people out there that just like, they don't do all this safe stuff first. They just go and do it. And so my brain exploded. And then obviously I, was in the military. But I got lucky in some ways that, as soon as I got commissioned, they had to get rid of like 40,000 officers in my particular, as second lieutenants and above to captain. They had to get rid of like 40,000 officers.
Okay.
And so I was able to take, and I also kind of knew the writing wasn't on the wall for me because I was a behavioral scientist, but I was working an intel job. And so when you're not doing something that's in your actual career field, it actually looks bad as far as, being promoted and stuff like that. So anyways, long story short, I got out. I was able to cross over into the reserves, so I ended up doing that for another 8 years. But at the same time, I was able to get out and then like start this entrepreneurial endeavor, this process, this journey that I've been on for the last 14 plus years. I'm sure by now. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
you go from like the super regimented belief, like, hey, I'm gonna do this. What was that like transition for you? Like if someone is listening to this and like, man, super relating to that, what are some of the things that you did of like switching that mindset? Because going from the military to now I don't have any rules and I can do whatever. I think I kind of knew even as I was starting out, it was going to be a huge transition just because like, when you live a life that is like very regimented and stuff like that, I believe you lose the ability to like really think out of the box, think creatively, that kind of thing. And so I mean I've always been a very creative person, but I knew in terms of like mindset, as an entrepreneur, you need to be resilient, you need to be mentally strong, stuff like that. And so the things that I've developed over the years has come from a lot of reading, a lot of exposing myself to different ideas, watching, YouTube videos, watching, interviews of other entrepreneurs. So just constantly exposing myself to these ideas and like what other people use as their mental fuel to continue on, to go after new ideas, to think creatively, to go after their dreams. Because I think that was something that in my family, we didn't really talk about. We never really talked about going after your dreams and anything's possible. It's just go to the Air Force. That's it. They're going to take care of you. It's all planned out. It's all, it's all safe there. So go to Uncle Sam.
Yeah, exactly. Like, here's a safe route. Do that. And I would say in general in my family too, it wasn't like going after your dreams was not encouraged kind of thing. So, constantly bringing in the influences that I need was really important to me. And that just became a skill set of, searching and whenever those moments of doubts would arise, I'd go out there and search. Okay. Like, so I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling, down and defeated. Maybe I had a bad day or something like that. Maybe my idea's not working out, whatever. So going out there and find those resources, whether they be virtual or mentors, finding those people that can help me, fix that problem or just, motivate me to keep going kind of thing.
Yeah. It's super important to have those people that you surround yourself with. I mean, there's the quote, the 5 people you hang around with are the 5 people you will become.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone is the influences that they surround themselves with. So if you're around entrepreneurs, you're going to try something. You're going to do something different. So it's very inspiring to go from something as regimented as the Army, the Air Force, and then to go to entrepreneurship.
Different
and
life.
it's like, oh, hey, if there's a problem, if you're like in the Air Force or the military, anything like that, there's a problem, you talk to whoever's above you.
Yeah, exactly.
Then entrepreneurship, you're like, well, there's a problem.
You're kind of on your own island.
I can fix it with duct tape and baling wire, where I can go and talk to this person that may have this amount of expertise. I can talk to them. They'll inspire me to do this. So there's a lot of that cross collaboration there.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't remember if it's Napoleon Hill or Jim Rohn that said that, look at the person in 5 years, I can tell you who they're going to be based on the books they read and the people they hang out with. So it's like right in alignment with what you said.
What goes in comes out.
and I've definitely been conscious of like a lot of the books I read and also, going out there and I'm, not a huge like social animal in terms of like constantly going out there and talking to people and stuff like that. I tend to be a little bit more introverted, but yeah, like I have people in my network that, anytime I need to, I can reach out to them, whether it's on Facebook or a phone call or a text, and they're always there for me. And that's, something that I've been really fortunate to have developed. Yeah.
What I love too about your story is you have such a good way of shifting gears. And that was something I really wanted to talk to you about, of going from, you had a marketing agency to a lot of world travel. You shifted gears there. Could you talk a little bit about Braver? Is it Braver?
Yeah, Braver's the last startup. So that was, again, like
I always get confused with Braver.
Yeah. Well, the two E's or no E and 2 R's is a little confusing for people, I would say. And maybe that's why it failed, to be honest. Who knows?
You didn't think about the name and how people would see it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Braver came about, again, an experience of pain and trying to solve a problem. I kind of changed things up in my life in 2015 and just got this wild idea. I mean, I've always wanted to live a life abroad for at least 1 year. And, after doing volunteer work in Nepal, one of my friends was living in Bali at the time. He had just, surfing all the time, living the great life. And so I was like, I'm on this part of the world. I'm kind of in the area. I might as well drop down and see him. So I went to Bali, and then, over the course of 3 weeks, just really fell in love with the island and, found other entrepreneurs that were there, other expats, a whole digital nomad community. And I just said, like, if I'm going to live somewhere, this is a great place. It's paradise. And plus, it was cheap to live, and it's, got all these other like-minded people that I can tap into. And so I made the move out there. And then unfortunately, I had that's when I kind of restarted my marketing company right just before I moved out there.
Okay.
And, so yeah, like I went out there to live the digital nomad life, the life of bliss, Instagram photos, all that kind of stuff. And
you want to be the Instagram model influencer guy,
the digital nomad influencer dude.
Yeah.
No. So yeah, I moved there, and then like a month after moving there, I got into a really bad motorcycle accident where really bad concussion. I honestly should have died. I put my head through the windshield of an oncoming van, dented the front part of their fender and all that stuff, and laid out on the ground for 10 minutes or more, convulsing, I guess is what my friends told me. And so that was bad. And then a month after that, so that obviously put me in the hospital, but a month after that, then I contracted dengue fever, put me back in the hospital. And then a month after that, I injured my lower back. I herniated a disc in my lower back. Spent about 2 or 3 months in my bed on painkillers before finally saying, I need surgery. And so I did my research, went to Thailand, interviewed a couple doctors there, had the surgery, and then was kind of, on the road to recovery after that. But I think all that, happening within such a short period of time, like 3-4 months, that all happening.
Ruined all of your model shots.
Exactly. That all happening, like, just obviously really stressed me out. And I would say, from my psychology background, I'd say that I probably, was having PTSD or something like that. And I started noticing in the mornings, waking up with a migraine, which I never had before, and, sore jaw and stuff like that. And I knew enough from other people I'd talked to, in my past, that this is most likely bruxism. And so I said, well, I've always been a tinkerer and stuff like that. I love building stuff. And I just said, like, maybe I can come up with a solution to solve this problem. One, to detect the behavior, but then two, hopefully to do basically build a biofeedback device to teach people subconsciously to stop this behavior. And so, I went about building my first prototype. I don't know if you want to hear the whole story, but basically, got the idea, did some research on like what I could use to detect the behavior, and then what I need to process that information, all that stuff. And so I got all that, information, found out all the parts that I would need. And then I found those parts in Singapore. So I flew to Singapore, got all the parts I needed, and basically started building my first prototype on the bathroom floor of my hotel. Because I didn't want to burn anything while I was doing it. So I did it on the tile in the bathroom floor. And it worked. Like the first, prototype, it worked. It detected the behavior. It, initiated a biofeedback. And so I thought, I've got something here. And so that kind of started a 4.5-year process of building and developing this technology. We ended up going with a different sensor that I invented. Like, I've invented this novel sensor, and that's what we ended up having that patented. But yeah, that was a crazy journey, and that's, a lot of my journeys are like a lot of things that have happened in life. Just, it's funny when you look back, you see kind of, what started it, like this pain, this frustration, whatever it may be. And then, okay, I'm going to solve this, and being that's what I say, being stupid enough to believe it's possible, and that's, I think, what all entrepreneurs were, stupid enough to believe things are possible. And then we're just inherently just very, very stubborn people. We're masochists in a lot of our journeys. We're like almost masochists in terms of what we put ourselves through to get our ideas and dreams out there, I would say.
You have to be a little bit crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about entrepreneurship. Like, there may be ways that you can kind of sustainably have an entrepreneurial life and journey, but it's very rare to be able to avoid the sleepless nights of trying to think about things, or staying up super late to get a prototype going, or finish the edit of a video, in my case, or get a podcast finished. You have to be a little bit special.
For sure. And
I love the passion of entrepreneurship. And like you said, you had something that you could either continue feeling pain around, or you can try to solve it. And by trying to solve it, you can help other people to do so. Yeah,
exactly. No, just the concept of work-life balance definitely doesn't. I think it might be possible in more of a corporate environment where you can kind of close your laptop and leave things at work. But yeah, work-life balance as an entrepreneur is a complete myth. And so just in terms of startups, you have lean startup methodology, and you have design sprints and stuff like that. And so you really that's kind of the way you live your life, is just, you sprint for 6 weeks and maybe take some time off.
Yeah.
Sprint for 6 weeks, take some time off, or, put some time off to, work on your business rather than in it, that kind of stuff. So you try to build those things in your schedule, but yeah, it's mostly just, okay, what is on fire today is what you wake up with. What's on fire today, and how do I put that fire out?
What's the most important thing that I need to do first?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that a tiny fire or a big fire? And I think that's where you find success as an entrepreneur, is identifying the things that you can get a little bit bigger, while you focus on the really big fire.
Yeah. One thing that I've run into, and maybe some others run into this as well, but I focus on those big fires, and I think it's just my natural affinity for challenge. I do like challenges, but I usually focus on those big fires. But it's always the little tasks, the things that could take 5-10 minutes to do. Those are the things that get put on the back burner, and I do need to get better at that. Is one thing I would say, and something that for other entrepreneurs to think of is try to build maybe the first part of your day where you're taking care of those small tasks, and then the rest of your day you can work on those big tasks. And that's probably a better way to kind of organize your your daily schedule.
Find what suits your brain and then do that.
Exactly.
Another great entrepreneur that we have in the Emerging Campus building is a guy named Matthias Miller. We were talking one day, just talking about basically like seasons. And he was like, great thing. I immediately had to write it down. But he was like, I feel balance is less important than cadence, where you have these waves of, you may have a season where you are focusing on working on the business versus in the business. And then you have those periods of time where you may be working in the business, where you have to do the daily things. You have to get the project out. You have to get the thing going. Like you have to work with customers. Like you have to do these things, but they work in waves. And you try to find work-life balance in that, where you may have those stints where you're extremely focused on one thing. You have a rest period, and then you go back up to that peak.
No, it's like a really good way to think about it, is like you have these focuses. And I think one thing that I kind of struggled with early on, and like I'm definitely made it more a part of my journey, is celebrating and making sure to celebrate your wins and stuff like that. But when you've, say that your focus was marketing for the next 6 weeks, we're going to do this, and this is what our goal is and stuff like that. And rather what I used to do is just, okay, that's done. Now I'm going to the next project. I take a little time to celebrate and say like, hey, good job to my team, good job to myself, and really celebrate that, and take a little rest after that to
what does that look
that.
like for you?
I mean, me and my team, I think we do a good job of just, celebrating each other. Like we've honestly we've only worked in person, my team. My Trevor is my back-end developer. He lives in Grants Pass, Oregon. Okay. And then Andre's my front-end developer. He lives in Romania right now. Okay. But we've only had like a period of, I think it was like 3 months, or actually just 1 month total of the last 5 years that we've worked together. We were actually all in the same room together, like working together. So we've worked virtually this entire time. And, for a hardware project, that was extra hard to develop hardware, and you're all, in different parts of the world. But now, now with software, it's a whole lot easier. But yeah, we do a good job on, every week we meet on Mondays. And then we also meet on Friday to kind of close out the week. And, part of that is, we absolutely take time to recognize each other, like, thank you for taking care of this for me, that kind of stuff. But as far as like taking, celebrating, it's just, taking time off. What I need in terms of my mental health is just, I take a couple days off, here in Colorado, go up into the mountains, get that kind of, where I can, wherever I'm in the mountains, maybe it's just because I've lived in Colorado so long, it's a place of clarity. Yeah. It's a place, so like that alone is just a celebration for me, getting that peace of mind, that clarity, to look, again, like look at what's been done, and then look ahead, like what's next to do. Yeah.
It's so important to have this moment of like separation, like you said, go up into the mountains somewhere where cell reception just doesn't exist. Yeah. And just step away and get that mindset of like, when you're in the mountains, everything's so much bigger than you are. And I feel that's like a good analogy too, of like, when you're in the business, all these problems are all around you, towering above you. When you get to those peaks, you can see everything else below and get a lay of the land. And
you kind of can look down. Yeah. And I kind of have this mental concept of, everyone should seek to build their own mountain, like build their own mountain with, how they build themselves up in terms of like the principles that they stand upon, the experiences they give to themselves. They're building their own mountain of, strength. They're building that place of clarity. And so, in a very real and physical sense, going to the mountain is this place of, clarity, perspective, that kind of stuff. And then also just internally, building that mountain with meditation, with different practices that you have, where you've got all these things that you built yourself up with in terms of what you've added to your character, and those principles that you stand upon. But you also, you go to the mountain with your meditation, you go to the mountain with your practices to have that piece of clarity too. So it's not just, it's not like once a month do I go up into the literal mountain to do that, but every day I make it part of my practice of whether it's meditation or yoga or just going for a walk on the trail, having that place where I can go and just be either mindless or kind of have perspective to focus on what's next.
Yeah. I think it's super important.
Mm-hmm.
On that side of things, going in and you had Braver, you had something that you developed, you got a patent on. COVID hit.
Yeah.
Hit you guys pretty hard because the dental industry as a whole just really suffered through that time. You eventually had to wind down the business. What was that like, going from this failure into a period of rebirth, and kind of what did that look like for you?
Yeah, and I'm glad you used that word. So many people are afraid of that word failure. That they are like, oh no, you didn't fail. Like if I say yeah, we failed, they're like, oh no, you didn't fail. You just learned something new and blah blah. They're kind of like, and I get that. That's all great. But what I enjoy is not giving words so much power. Yeah. And failure to me is just this amazing tool for how it develops you as a person. Like all the confidence that I have now is because of all the times I've failed and gotten back up. Yeah. That's what I really, I don't value failure in terms of like, let's go fail.
Woo, let's do it.
This is great. But
what am I going to fail at today?
When it comes, it's just such an opportunity. And so, yeah, for Braver, I would say it was, I'm not going to, I'll admit it was hard. That was really brutal. Because
it's something you spent a lot of your life working towards. It was something that very
4.5 years.
Yeah. Something that you actively used and bettered your life with.
Yeah, exactly. And so, when we went to China, went through this accelerator program, fully developed our device, manufactured it. You really did impossible things in terms of like we got to manufacture this thing. Our investment, I think total investment, we had like $385,000 invested in the company from different investors. And, I've talked to several people since then, and they, just said like that what you did is like near impossible to like get, something fully developed and then manufactured and, out there on the market within that period of time with that little of money. Like that's amazing. So like, I'm really proud of our team for being able to accomplish that. But yeah, when we fully developed and we launched the product a week later, all the dental offices closed down in America because of COVID. And then we kind of tried to relaunch because we won the Best of Class Technology Award in the dental industry. Then we got into all these industry publications. We got into Forbes, and so we kind of tried to relaunch from a PR standpoint, but still the market had not recovered. Even dental hygienists weren't able to come back into the office, and they weren't able to do full cleanings by that point. So unfortunately, we had to wind it down at the end of 2020, and we kind of saw the writing on the wall about a month before we were going to close down. I talked with my team and just said like, writing's on the wall. We're probably have to close this down. We ran out of funding, that kind of thing. And, do you guys want to continue working together? Is what I said. Yeah. And like unanimously, like all three of us were like, yeah, we love working with each other. Like Trevor and Andre are like some of the best humans on the planet that I've met. They're just like really awesome dudes, awesome humans, and then like work hard and are stubborn. Like it's just great. It's great to be around them. Yeah. But yeah, we said, yeah, we want to work together. Let's find another project. Let's find another thing. And so over the course of about 6 weeks, I'd say we made a conscious effort every Friday that we would just spend that meeting like pitching. We'd pitch each other ideas and like fully talk about them, scrutinize the idea, critique it, those kind of things. And then we came up with a list of 3 or 4 business ideas that we really liked, that we thought were something that would be fun to work on, and then also something that we think would be successful. And yeah, so I just that note in my phone from 2018 after getting stiffed on a shed building project. That was something that I pitched, and yeah, we looked at the market, we looked at the possibilities, and said we'd be excited to build something like this, we'd be passionate to build something like this, and we all agreed that that's what we're going to do. But we also, we said we're going to do this, but then we said we're going to go through the steps that we've learned along the way in terms of like the lean startup process, and actually go out there and like interview, at that particular time, interview contractors, home improvement contractors, homeowners, stuff like that. We started to interview those people and find out, is this really a problem? Is this thing that I see in that particular industry, is that really a problem? And get that validation. And then, as I said, like once we did our pilot, then we started getting, people, freelancers basically coming to us, asking if they could use it in their business. So then we kind of needed to go out there and do more interviews to see if, okay, we've got these people coming to us, but is this broader? Is there more of an application for what we built here? And we found out, yes, it is. So, yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think it's so cool to see, I mean, what you went through could break so many other people of like entrepreneurs, like someone who may have put all of their eggs in one basket and be like, oh man, you guys went through it. You took some time. Yeah. You found that community. You have a team that you work well together, and you just kept on pitching ideas. What are the ways that we can continue to work together and be successful?
Yeah.
I think that's super inspiring.
Yeah. I think, it was just, lucky that I found these two people. And I think that's the thing that when a business, starts failing, you can see, is that core team a really good team? Like, do they enjoy working with each other? Do they have complementary personalities, that kind of thing? You really see that when a business starts failing, and definitely when it fails. A lot of people like blaming each other, not taking ownership for things. And just, we've never done that. We've never done that. We've, whether it's Trevor, whether it's Andre, whether it's me, we always take responsibility for, what, and I think we even take responsibility for each other. Like, so say if it's something that, I had to do, Trevor and maybe I failed at it or didn't get that thing done. Trevor and Andre are like, okay, how can we help? Yeah. How can we compliment you in this and help you get that done? And same thing for them. If they're struggling with something, I'm at, how can I help? How can I smooth this road for you? Yeah. So you can, focus on that kind of thing. So I think that's how you have a good team. And if you have that, then why not continue working together? Yeah. It's just natural. Like, we're all of us are, smart people, I would say. Me less so. But like if you have that, you can't help but like want to work on something else together, because it's fun. Like, there's nothing fun like this time we spent in China, like building out, the Brux relief device. That was like one of the funnest times of my life. Like, just totally got to nerd out in this room of like all these smart people plus my team. That was like so much fun. Like, we look forward. I think a lot of people, like especially in the corporate world, they hate meetings and stuff like that. we would look forward to, Mondays and Fridays actually getting to spend a little time with each other. We BS a little bit when we first start, and then we get down to business as far as like what needs to be done, what we need to talk about, that kind of stuff. So we really enjoy each other.
How did you come up? How did you decide on this project? You said you're doing all these pitches. What was the process for you guys of, okay, this is the one? Yeah.
So pitching at each other. Then we kind of narrowed probably a list of. We went through at least 30 to 40 ideas. Okay. I'm sure that we pitched. And then we kind of whittled it down to a list of, I would say, 4 or 5 that we really liked. And then from that down to 3, and then probably top 2. Okay. Whittling it down just like each meeting to like basically the king of the hill, kind of thing. Like, eventually many ideas enter, one idea leaves. So that's kind of how we came out with it. But then we still said, like, we're going to force ourselves to do what we have learned to do, which is like the lean startup methodology and all that stuff, and go out there, interview, like, is this actually a problem? And then what the next step beyond that, I would say, was to really what I always believe is the best vote of confidence from someone in terms of like, hey, do you think this is a great idea? And if we build it, would you use it? Is to ask them to pay for it up front. Now, so I asked the people we went to, like, kind of point blank, we're gonna build this. Will you at least give us $100 for that? Now, I eventually didn't require them to pay for it, but I wanted to know, like, me being serious, looking in their eyes, like, I'm going to ask you for money for this. Will you pay me to do this? And yes, I'll pay you. So like once you can either do that for real and like make people pay you up front for whatever you're building. And a lot of times that does make sense. But like for these people, because they're, so early on and so enthusiastic about what we're building, I just said like, hey, actually, I'm just going to give it to you kind of things. We're rolling this out. I want your feedback. That's how you can pay me. It's like, use it. Give me your feedback. How can we make it better? I think so. I think that's whatever idea you have, whether it's something that if you can, build it on your own and get it out there, make people pay ahead of time. So that way, it's for real. They're not just like, hey, that's a great idea.
Sure,
a lot. I mean, they're just being nice, and that's it's appreciated, but not very useful in business. And then this, second is either, getting people to pay you up front for whatever you're going to build or whatever service you're going to provide, or, getting an investor who says like, I believe this is a really good idea. I believe in it. You've done this kind of validation in terms of, interviewed these people. Seems like it's a big problem. Seems like there's a market there. And okay, here's $100,000 to build this thing. So, this particular idea, we, instead of going after investors, we just said like, we're going to build it because we can. We have we got the skill set, and all it requires is just our time. So
To kind of wrap this conversation and episode to a close, what was that process like of iteration for you?
So the basic core idea in the beginning was just that, like, an idea of like an escrow-like service, like a holding account, something where money can go into it, it can stay safe, and then it gets released once tasks are completed in that particular project. So that was the core thing we tested out. That was a minimum viable product that we pushed out, and honestly, when we pushed it out, I look back at it now and I'm just like, that was real early. Like our first minimum viable product, like we had trouble with like the sign up process, like just signing up for the app, downloading the app. Like there was like so many problems just with the beginning of like getting in and using this thing. And so I know that was, frustrating for our early testers, but we got feedback from that and like, we need to fix that. We need to make that better. And so every, thing that we've, built in it has been from feedback and I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned over the last 14 years or more of being an entrepreneur is like, you can have what you think is the greatest idea in the world, but if you're not listening to your customers, your clients, those kind of things, and iterating from their feedback, they're not going to be happy, and you potentially have just wasted tons of time building something that no one's going to use. And so I think the developing a skill of like listening, putting stuff out there and then listening. What are they saying? One of the biggest things from our pilot too, coming out of that, not only that our sign up process sucked, but we also learned something that we did well. And part of Trustio is you create that invoice, you create a list of tasks that you're going to do, and then within each one of those tasks, there's a communication feature that allows you to document your work, communicate with the client back and forth. About what's going on with the project. If there's any changes to that particular task, that's all documented in there. And that was one of the things we got. It was just a surprise because we just built that and then was like, that's a good idea. And we thought the main core value is this, protection of that payment. We thought that was the main value. But so many people came back to us and I said, I really like this communication feature. It allows me to keep the client informed and happy along the way. And they, believing that happy client's going to lead to more referrals, obviously. That was a huge thing that kind of got revealed from that pilot is like, this is something really cool that we built and we didn't really even think about it, And then plus from the standpoint of having that documentation there, if there's ever a dispute with a particular project and with a particular client, both people have something to reference. Okay, here's where you asked for this change. Here's where I said it was going to cost you more, and that's why it costs more. So it's like it helps with that, and it also helps. If it ever goes towards any kind of legal issues, that's all documented. We actually have in our platform, in our terms of service, and also the contract that backs up each project on our platform, we actually have an arbitration clause. And that's really important. A lot of businesses don't know about this, something that anyone can use in their contracts. But an arbitration clause keeps you out of court. So like basically it goes to an arbitrator. In our case, it's a virtual arbitrator.
Okay.
And so it's a flat fee, I think of $250 that either side will pay if they want to, go into a dispute.
Yeah.
But since that all that stuff's documented, all that the arbitrator gets to see all that communication, that they're apprised of that. So they're not just going on what this person said and what this person said. They actually have it right there in the notes of that particular task of that project. So that's just another huge thing that when we built it, we were like, oh yeah, it would be a cool feature, you can communicate back and forth, but we didn't see how important it was until we built it and got that feedback. Yeah.
So someone came into that situation, it was like, okay,
and luckily we haven't had that yet. We haven't had that situation yet, but yeah, it's like.
But if it is, that's covered, and
it
that's
gives
one of those...
people, kind of peace of mind that they're covered in that process, and there's something there documented. Yeah.
Yeah, which is super important.
Yeah.
Like when you deal with money, deal with clients, it's super important to have that clear communication.
Exactly.
And if something does come up, if you have it documented, boom, there you go.
Exactly. And you're not having to like search through like emails and texts and Facebook messages and
did they call me about
kind of stuff.
this?
It's all right there in the app, which is important. Makes it easier.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Really enjoyed talking with you today.
Same thing with you, Sage. This has been fun.
It's so fun. This is something that I love about this podcast. It's like get to go into like have these deep conversations. We've known each other for years and we've never had a conversation quite like this.
Yeah, exactly.
We've gotten coffee before and kind of talked about our past, but like get in the weeds and be like, okay, what was this? What was the process behind this? Like
I think like just the podcasts in general that you see out there is just like you get to kind of step in and be a fly in the wall of like these conversations that have that. Two people really digging down either into their business, their thought processes, emotions they go through in their journey, stuff like that. And it's good stuff to expose yourself to. So I appreciate this opportunity to come in and talk about Trust You. But it's just been fun just talking to you.
I always come away with these podcast recordings like, yes, this is great. Yeah.
This is great content. And I really like that joke I told.
Woohoo. Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah. Thanks for taking the time, hopping on the podcast. We'll put all the links to Brock's content, Trust You. Everything will be in the description of this podcast, which you can find at worldreboot.com.
Awesome. Thanks.